Okay, I've been having some problems with my Ski Doo GSX, basically the Rev chassis. It's a 2005. And problem with the gas gauge not reading correctly. So, well, I got on the internet, did some searching, and decided to tackle the project. What I had found is the gas cap was completely separated from the entire float assembly. These were sitting in the bottom of my gas tank. So what I ended up doing was I took a high energy earth magnets, stuck it inside of a little baggie, tied it onto a string, dropped it down in the tank, was really lucky, and was able to pull it out. Actually, I dropped it down through the same hole that the gas gauge was in. So I will be showing how I'm going to put this back together to make sure that that does not happen again. So these are the parts. You got your gas gauge. It has a slotted center, and then you've got your actual wire that goes up through the center here of the float, and then your gas gauge sits on top. So what I'm going to do is these wires here, they just don't have a good connection with the plastic. So I'm actually going to go in up here in the top of the wire, right up in this area here, where it goes into the plastic, right in these two holes here. I'm actually going to take the wire at the top here and put some grooves in it, so when I JB weld that in there, that it can't pull out, because it'll bond to the plastic and it will fill the void in the metal where I make the grooves. But it really isn't going to bond real well to the steel, so you need to make it to where it can't pull out. And that's the next part of this video.
Okay.
Is what I have found out is when you put this cap on here like so, and if you put this in the wrong way, when you put it back on, it binds. So if you find out that it's binding, turn it 180 degrees. No more binding. So the next part, I'm going to get some tape here, is I was hearing a lot of people complain on Do Talk forums that if you look through the glass here, you can see that as I lift this up and down, it actually comes into contact with the float, or the actual gauge inside. So come down at a little bit angle here, down. So if you'll see it raise up and down inside the glass. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get it so it's all the way to the bottom. And what people were saying is it was binding inside of the dome here. So I'm gonna go and raise it just a little bit. That way I know it's not gonna bind, and then I'm gonna make sure that it won't pull out at the bottom, because we don't want that to happen, which there it just pulled out at the bottom. So I'm gonna put it down a little bit more. As long as it won't come out at the bottom, we'll be all right. And then I'm gonna take a piece of tape and go around the top here and here for my guide, because the next step is the important part. We'll pull this off, pull the gauge out, or the wire. We'll take this, loosen up the vise, and I am going to fix what Ski Doo made a mistake with. I'm going to put some little slots in the metal. So when I go and JB weld this or epoxy it, it's got nowhere to go, because the epoxy will prevent the metal from pulling out of the dome. So that will go up inside of the head here. The epoxy will set into that slot. It'll prevent it from pulling out, because epoxy doesn't really bind to plastic and to metal very well. So you're better to make it to where you're making a spot to prevent it from being able to pull out. Obviously you don't want to cut all the way through, but probably just a couple on both sides. I mean, it's just got to hold to keep it from pulling out. All right, and that's it. Recording now?
Yep.
Good. So what we got is, after I brought it back upstairs because I had it disassembled downstairs, the float drops freely, as you can see. I tear it apart, do it the wrong way. That way I can show you what happens if you have it on backwards. And wait, yeah, it doesn't even go up. So if you notice that it just starts binding, it's wrong. So I'll probably have it on backwards right now. I'll probably bind again. Yep, see, it just bound. So you rotate it. You can float actually line up is the pain. Come on. Okay. Okay, that seems to be the right way. Okay, so now that I've got that in there, I'm going to leave it set. Mix up some epoxy. That should be enough. I'm using plastic weld, quick set, 5-minute JB weld, if anybody cares. I figure that should work as well as anything. But the whole point is I'm working with plastic, not metal. So my goal in this is to fill the gaps on the little edges up here where I filed them out. So my wife loves the smell of epoxy. Shadow behave. Okay. I'm going to stick it on here. I think I got enough epoxy mixed up. Try not to get any on the thing in the center here. I don't really want that to stick. sure that I didn't accidentally rotate it, and I think I did actually, unless I pushed down too hard. My float seems to be there. There we go. Yeah, that was a perfect example. The float was way tight to the top, and it was causing it to stick. A lot of people were saying that when the float was actually at the top, it was causing it to not read correctly. So make sure that the float has a little space, and it will release it and allow it to work correctly. So I'm going to let that dry, and the next step will be, I think I'll make another video showing how to put it back in and assemble the sled, because I have it tore apart right now, but you'll be able to use that to tear apart the sled. So that's it.